Good afternoon, everyone. This is Evelyn. It's 2:15 on the clock, which is actually a Philadelphia area code. It's the 2 of the High Priestess and the 15 of the Devil, or the shadow side of things. I have 3 of my messages of the day for you guys that I wasn't able to get to you yesterday. I did the twin flame read and then my video cut off on me and the energies weren't right to continue last night. So I'm going to give you the 3 messages of the day here. The first one was from the 8th. And I cut the decks from 101 to 105, and I started to bring this read to you at the end of my twin flame read, but then the video cut off. So again, we have the energies, the piles at the end of each read, which the left side of the picture is the underlying energies, 3 cards pulled, and then the additional cards that wanted to come out organically are on the right side of the picture. And I use those cards for numerology and to finish the storyline. So the numbers that came out in the piles were 11112 and 141517. The twin flames 2, the divine masculine and feminine, co-creating the angel and the devil and the star, but where's the 16? That where's Waldo energy of the tower. The twin flame world in a cup, the holy grail of freedom and dreams come true, as the Emperor, Magician, and Hierophant and Stars, or stable and traditional, and magic alternative. King of Swords is ascending in the chariot. I'm coming home. And that was coming up from Rocky Horror Picture Show, what he says at the end, where Dr. Frankenfurter is going home to his home planet. So the underlying energy here is the 56 Dance of the Planets, the 22 Mountain, which has been coming up this week as the Mound and the Tain, which is the person who remembers. Very profound. The 48 of the Sky Dancers, the 18 of Poseidon, and the 3 of Cups upright, which is 43, the 3 of Cups of coming together in joy. 2 in their knowing, hand in hand, through it all, the chaos and the calm, the 5D stationing above the summit, or Tor, T-O-R, where loose rocks lie, the rolling stones path of one, where the rocks and stones begin to sing. Hey, Zana, ho, Zana, 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 hey, was coming up, as well as ringing rocks. As he is the wise one, and their reflection, the hoes reflecting too, which is that play on Mary Magdalene being the horse or the whore that sees, and of course that reputation that she was given. 2 humans Christed in a Christed Buddhic connection with Christ and Ed, which can represent Mr. Ed as God or extra dimensionals. Christ and Ed, be you divine director, inner child. So be your own divine director, be the God within you. 2 in the mountain rolling around, the cone or cycle that's solidified over time. Mass under pressure. The sky dancers surrender to the dance of the planets. Sophia's KY, or 0 point energy, the twin flame quantum energy, and the plan of the ETs to go within on the flip of the sine wave and Poseidon on. So there's that energy of the positive side now on of the sine wave. The 18 of the moon, of water and romance, the king of the sea, the starfish, and Charlie and Starkist were coming up, as well as the mermaid, chicken of the sea. Charlie tuna and a fish out of water as the earth moved in a Poseidon adventure at 137, which is the magician and the king of cups, or magician embodiment and unconditional love. So the fools leap within to star kissed, coming together in joy in the vortex, the underlying energy of the 41, knowing without knowing, and the Mary Magdalene Holy Grail of Hercules carrying Atlas's load in the 698 pod of contemplation, the co-Christ temple, a Tyon, a tiger-lioness connection. The tiger is Grr 8, but the lion is the L of Lambda, or Lambda Father connection. The tigress and the Euphrates cat, the source god ER energy here of Char, and Charlie is Char and Lie, like Ash of the Star Kissed, and the little mermaid chicken crossing the road. So if she is the chicken of the sea, And there's this energy of cleaning up the salty emotions of the sea. So if she is the chicken of the sea, then crossing a road must be a big deal, a new territory and all. So why did the chicken cross the road? To get to Poseidon, the positive side of the sine wave. Sophia's I am, the jaguar, in Friday at 4 with family crest. That will wave you in. The jaguar coming up as J, a God you are, in, as in the at the inn. Friday equals the F of digamma, RID, as in it was coming up as like toys are us, but are our id. And A, I am day, the intersection or cross of the road, or row after death. Took a long, long time, 23 years to be exact, to get across this sea. The sea of the whispering bench, the bridge, the seeing with your eyes, the sea with your emotions. In suspended animation, you see. The U of the Holy Grail, the C of the Holy Communion or the communion. So the mermaid fish grew some humanity or balls and climbed her way out of the womb onto dry sands that were sifting through the hourglass. And I wanted to say sifting through their toes, and it's like Jesus's feet walking on the beach. The mermaid fish grew some humanity or balls and climbed her way out of the womb onto dry sands that were sifting through the hourglass all along, as the river or ocean in this case runs through it, and put that sand under a lot of pressure, who then finally squeegeed her out of there to the land where you are, the 2-cat totem piggyback in the desert, really 2 fish out of water. So cat and fish, it's all ghosting to me. Tut's tomb, or the word tu, tu, as in you in French, and tu at the intersection, to me. As God, Mr. Ed, has been telling us recently that he is me and Ed and Med, made clear the other day, that's them. Me, Ed, Med, bed, his bed, where you can be Ed. So the mermaid and the seahorse dream a little and hide out. The 51 of the King of Swords, who dreams of a little mermaid, and the 45 of the Hidden Beauty, who grieves her unicorn horse, both knowing without knowing in the dance of the planets. The plan of the ETs, of Mary Magdalene, or the mountains and valleys to hold up the world until JC, or the Taurus, gets back from Jupiter looking for himself out there, but returning with alternative plan to stabilize the world while she and he take off for distant lands at 207, which is the higher self, and the chariot or the boomerang key. Then the 15 of the mother and the 44 rings of time-space. But it's coming up as time source, me. So time is TI and ME, which is source and me. So the mother 15 and the 44 rings of time of source me, the shadow mother crippling them, the divine feminine's harvest, knowing the shadow side and committing to source, the 25 of the Knight of Wands. As the seed of the heart lies the question mark, the unknown, or UNK, which is the Holy Grail, the Christ energy, and what dreams may come in service to other. The 3 of burning hero and the Empress's sacrifice. Say, cry, reflect, and see. Their lesson to sacrifice for the greater good and to get to the other side. Poseidon or Pose-idon, in time and time out in one. You pose or see things like Poe, because Edgar Allan Poe is definitely coming up here in these reads, while I do Christ with id on and shake up this sphere. And there's that Shakespeare reference there. At 218, which is again the divine feminine higher self or high priestess, and the 18 of the moon and romance, the underlying energy of the 28 snake, the 30 of the sun, 26 of the plane, and 19 of luck, and 22 mountain. The twin flame kundalini, Sophia Nike dance, in the union with the sun energy, the page of wands, 26 plane, rises to fantasy island, is land. Again, coming in off the sea, which is the womb, onto dry land. In a stroke of luck, arriving to station at the mountain, or the person who remembers just in time and time out, at Lover's Leap, the snow-capped et al. So Frosty doesn't have a meltdown, and Pinocchio doesn't fib. I not she, when he is in she, in the whole Fibonacci sequence of things. So Pinocchio doesn't fib was coming up as the Fibonacci sequence, where I is not she, when he is in she, in the whole Fibonacci sequence of things. And there's that reference too of the Fibonacci spiral versus the crystal spiral, right? They're all part of the nature of our world, our reality. So the 20 of marriage, the 31 of thorns comes up at, we ended that last sentence with 222, which is that guidance counselor energy. And then 223, going to the King of Wands, which is this year, that lesson on how to manage the masculine ego, how to keep it balanced in a slow burn. The 20 of marriage and the 31 of thorns has been no bed of roses, or perhaps it was rosy, it just came with a lot of thorns. To learn to rise to the occasion and station, or stat connection, as the 5 of celebrations and freedom and change, the chaos of life and the light in the box. You never know which question mark or scar you're going to get. Light is laser sharp, and you have to be on your toes, or my toes anyway. The mythos or myth of mitosis, the story from my tour guide. And again, that Glastonbury tour energy is coming up as the summit of the mountain and guidance. As the 25, the Knight of Wands, as the phoenix rises from the ash or bright light, the eagle hermiting soars ever higher and higher around the world in AD days as they cross at the top, that 36 Atlas energy of the world. On the 33 bridge of unity consciousness, the unicorn's light and shadow aspects in a magic merge, if you just believe, as your eyes, your 3D eyes, can deceive. At 234, shut the door, the underlying energy is the 49 of skywriting the fates, as the full Aries moon wanes into eclipse season, the 57 of the big squeeze, on unmarked trail of revelation, and the maze under pressure, to get out from within to the 44, the ravenous peacock at the eagle's nest, or the E-gull's nest, or the E-tower, in other words, with a vortex opened up in their heart in the perfect storm, as the horned cactus is present or gifted and resourceful, and the 2 of the beloved with radical acceptance of the heart on fire, and the sky dancers surrender to go within. So the next first card is the 22 at 240, again the higher self, and the 40 of the Page of Cups, that innocent, vulnerable side, where the superfly leaps from the orange ball, perhaps Ganymede, as drops of Jupiter jump back into their heavenly body. There's something else wanted to come up there. Ganymede. As superfly leaps from orange ball, perhaps Ganymede. I can't get what wants to come up. Perhaps it'll come in as I go on. So this orange ball, perhaps Ganymede, as drops of Jupiter jumps back into their heavenly body or reality after clicking their wings 3 times as the fool with a new passion for home, sweet home, the Queen's Gambit and Vesica Pisces, willing to flip inside out and through in the easy pass connection called compassion, at home in the heart, he art. The 39 of the Knight of Cups in a Me Talks, the Me Too movement in the JC dance or X of the Crazy Eights dance, taking a bath for kisses and hugs, kind of like cleaning, detoxing, getting yourself cleaned up for kisses and hugs. As the green and gold shaman Knight of Cups gets ready for the 52 Queen of Swords, straddling both worlds in blues and purples. AKA number 44 Hercules, she is, still holding pattern and waiting for turn. The underlying energy of the 22 and Hephaestus. And the 19 of Artemis, and the 35 of the Marae, the 6 of Rhea, and the 18 of Poseidon. So Zeus's Hera's kid is Hephaestus, right? That's Hera's favorite because he's challenged, but he's a really hard worker and has beautiful magical abilities. So Zeus is Hera's kid with challenges since birth, but a creative heart and work ethic, got tagged by Artemis with saggy arrow tainted by a trio as the thread of the bow had been handled up to the fates on when they get to be born and how long they get to live and when they actually get to die. All three fire signs here, between Aries 22, 19 Leo, and 35 Saggy wounded warriors surrender, with Rhea of Kronos and here son Poseidon, who sat down beside him, or siding with him over Zeus. And, right, Zeus is Poseidon's brother. But Zeus was supposed to be the favorite of Rhea. But now here we have Rhea with her son Poseidon over Zeus. So the 39 of Orpheus has faith that Grandma Gaia Mother will do her thing. As Demeter is busy dealing with Chiron, a harvest healing on the bridge to unity consciousness, or going Demeter, or to meet her. With Pisces or Virgo, Cancer, Capricorn here with fire, of the Centaur, the Sagittarius perhaps, the 3 of Pontus and the unknown, or Pilot and the unknown factor, loyal to Gaia and yet very much their own man. Perhaps Pontus was like a mother to Gaia. Perhaps grandmother, getting Demeter to heal with Chiron before she must then go to Pontus, or Pilot's last resort. And Pontus comes up as Gaia's brother, I believe. 38 is the Queen of Cups, Achilles, of the 30 of Dionysus and their freedom, the 43 of Helen of Troy and her beauty, and 28 of Eros and their desires. The 41 of Hercules, aka the lioness Athena, always with him, his Achilles heel, the Queen of Cups. She sees as her Achilles heel her sweetheart, right? Because she's been raised to be the warrior. The Empress and the Queen of Cups at home with the 43 or family gathering, at 28 or to choose a new path for the Holy Grail, so that Hercules, aka Athena, which also comes up as Lady Liberty, in hiding, can lay down the world and take off. So again, Hercules putting down the world after picking it up for Atlas and finding a way where they can both take off without having to hold the world up at the same time. So the family gatherings at 309, which also has come up in my past readings as 369. It's just the 6 is 0 because that's the now moment in the middle. The family gatherings of birthdays, Halloween, Thanksgiving, etc., going into Christmas season and Hanukkah, and the underlying energy of the 5 of Wands upright, the moon, the world upright, after bathing to come full circle at the full moon in Aries, imprisoned by attention of public duty, with a move, a visit, or unstable home, destined for new passion with the 3 of Pentacles reversed, leaving the job or free from work, to split with the Empress or get clarity on a divide between them, as the Empress and the Queen of Swords both upright here, with the 10 of Pentacles reversed. Perhaps there could be some dysfunction or loss there. Perhaps they spent a lot or lost a lot, or just with the dysfunctional family, or family dealing with a loss or near-death experience or after death, or an ending here, and detoxing, being on the wall or on the fence, as the Hermit with the light, and Aries and Taurus and Virgo upright, but Scorpio and Capricorn reversed. Perhaps the Hermit's uncomfortable leaving the Tower with a new or big love, and the King of Cups reversed, or offer with conditions after a divorce of the King of Cups reversed with Taurus in their chart, or the Queen of Wands and the Knight of Cups upright, kids perhaps, or working nights while juggling both sides. The Knight of Cups offers love to the Ten of Cups reversed, family, by cleaning up for the Emperor or coming clean to the Emperor in a disconnect or at a distance from the Knight of Wands, who helped the King of Wands reversed escape full exposure or get out of a jam, and I was just getting or get out of town. With the Knight of Swords reversed and the Magician reversed, with delusions of grandeur here, or Gemini with split personality, or just never satisfied, with Aquarius, or not getting their way, their dreams, or stardom, a wake-up call, falling in the cracks between judgment and justice, or Aquarius and Libra, no longer performing together, with Justice of the Nine of Pentacles and King of Pentacles, which can be his own sovereignty, or him and an independent partner or child, but the energetic exchange back and forth and rising above, to the beach or to the boat, perhaps the Viking ship, and docking or taking a boat out of the water, or no peace, or someone who gets nauseous on ships, off balance, but clearly the Page of Swords reversed, with a new lease on life, with the Six of Cups upright and the King of Swords upright, inviting bliss into his world, or a new life with a soul tie, back to school, or starting something brand new, or an opportunity, now that the worst is over, to come together in bliss and joy. So the Chariot's upright next, giving a ride perhaps, with Cancer to Sagittarius, or patient Knight of Pentacles reversed, waiting without a choice, or with a set time to pick them up, and they just have to wait until that time. As the Nine of Swords reversed with the Five of Swords upright, could be some nightmare traffic, or just stressed out facing fears of the Page of Wands reversed and the Queen of Pentacles reversed, getting over a disappointment or regret, or not sharing, or something's unfair, the inequity, and the High Priestess upright, who's floating along with an open heart, letting go a bit to make them feel better, as the Page of Cups Pisces may be good, there just may be a little disappointment, or feels a bit disconnected. And there's definitely been that energy in the past couple days of a little funky energy, feeling disconnected, or, some stuff is bubbling up to release and is uncomfortable. So at 3:33 is the Ten of Wands upright and the Four of Cups upright, of Atlas carrying a lot, and yet very tempted by the Holy Grail divine lover. At the end of a very long project or heavy commitment, recovering the Queen of Cups reversed, defenseless to the energies, needing strength with the Wounded Warrior upright, or the Wounded Warrior does, perhaps to beg forgiveness from the fair maiden, or the Divine Feminine's heart, or one reaping rewards, or harvesting fruit and communing with nature. As the Page of Cups may be at a distance, working really hard to get past temptation, to get to the divine lover, or Gemini, or twin, and recover together in a practical way, or proposal down on the farm. And that was at 3:37 to 3:38, which is the King and Queen of Cups. And the Empress perhaps, or in Mother Nature. So then we have, let's see what came up next. 144 was coming up a lot. There was some pictures and just the meaning of 144. And I brought up the 144 before to you guys in a diagram of the numbers 1 through 9, right? So 144 is 1, and then the two sets of 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, which 6, 7, 8, 9 is the 6, 9, 8 pod, the 7 being the key. And the 2, 3, 4, 5 has that same energy, but in the lower dimension. So it's that 1, 4, and 4. And then the 3 zeros, of course, is the 1,000 suns of enlightenment. So the 72 by 72 is the 144, and 72 is the 4 of Pentacles, which is the Divine Masculine's heart. And again, the linking to Vesica Pisces, and then the Q, which links the third circle between them automatically, right? So when it's like when you each connect to source energy, then the two of you automatically connect with that third line. It becomes that source energy circle that brings us together. And the energy of mitosis was coming up too, which was very interesting. So remember that mitosis cells and meiosis cells are different, right? The meiosis cells are different because they're the ones that create children. And where the mitosis is one round of splitting into two identical daughter cells, the meiosis is 2 rounds of division of 4 non-identical haploid daughter cells. And again, there's that where the crossing over can occur to produce the gametes. So the queen's gambit has been coming up as the queen's gametes, right, to produce the gametes, the sperm and the egg cells. And I did a 144,000 breakdown. Another meaning of the 144 comes up with the 4 because the 4 is the L and the 1 together. And the L is the 50. And 50 and 50 is 100. So 100 can be written as just 2 zeros with the 1 between, which again references the 2 humans with the source between them. So then the 144,000 comes up, and you can look at my whole explanation on Instagram because I wrote the whole explanation of this for this symbolism and the, what equates with what and how I got to this place. But it comes up, the 144 ends up being 1L1L1, which the 2 L's is double zeros with the 1 in the middle. So it's 1010. It's 10101 and then the triple zeros. So the 10101 is literally, remember 1 is an arc. It's just like a parenthesis because there is no straight lines. It's just 2 dots and the arcing between them. So literally 10101 is the 010 in parentheses, which is literally a drawing of the apple, right? So you have the apple, the straight line in the middle is the core, and then the 2 apples of your eye, right? And then moving that as the pi symbol, right? Because the pi is the parentheses with the 1 in the middle, the circle with the line down the center, then becoming the pi C's, which is the two C's back to back instead of facing each other. And now the line, instead of vertical, is now horizontal because you've flipped inside out and are now corded together in enlightenment. Okay? So this week I've been doing spiritual acceleration body shame clearings, and I'm definitely feeling funky in doing that. Last night I did a gratitude clearing. I don't usually do this many clearings. I did a lot of clearings this past 2 weeks. I really wanted to go into a purge. So I've definitely been feeling it, feeling a little funky. I usually feel it this time of year anyway because I am very seasonally affected. So trying to bring up the trauma that causes that seasonal depression when the light goes away. So there was definitely some childhood stuff that came up, really weird stuff that I would never even thought of because I don't logically think of it. And it was coming up as it wasn't specifically sibling rivalry, but just remembering when I was a very little girl, when my mom used to dress us both in the same stuff. And then when we didn't wear the same stuff, I always thought that my sister's stuff was cuter than mine. Like she always liked to dress my sister better than she liked to dress me. So there was these like little girl stuff that was coming up to be seen and released. So you may want to go into your very young childhood as well. And I'm going, this is very young. We're talking like ages 7 or 8 and under. And again, this was coming up though between us because I was feeling that energy of her, like me protecting her. Was really interesting stuff coming in because the room that my sister grew up in wasn't actually part of the original home. It used to be a deck. So there's that wound of her being separated out from the family, and we have that wounding in our lineage as well. So tap into that from your own perspective to see what might come up regarding that. And I also, what started me crying in this clearing that I was doing, and this was back on the 9th, what really made me upset was my wings. They were showing me my wings as my innocence, that they had been chopped off. And there was a Russian connection there too. So yeah, and then again, this fear of going to sleep, because if you go to sleep, you know, you might get hurt, you may be assaulted, you might get killed, you know, that fear of going to sleep may be coming up in some of you. I don't have an issue sleeping, but my sister does. So that might be some issues that need to come up to be cleared so that you can sleep better. Okay, so I just pulled a few cards from my Fortunes deck. And the underlying energy of the proposal and rings and Vesica Pisces today, after the 7 of the cracker and the 27 of the proposal. And again, very much the Vesica Pisces energy, which is the Q. And then the 7 boomerang energy, if you add that to the Q, literally becomes the second circle of Vesica Pisces. It's like reaching out to the other circle. After the 8 and the 26 of the dragonfly tail and the plane, the drag on the trip. And again, that could be a trip that didn't, you know, ended up not being what you expected, but also feeling pulled down. Today, the Page of Wands, excited for fireworks display, or some kind of exciting event, but again, perhaps being disappointed by it. Challenged by the cold and the 22 Fool's Journey, the 5D stationing, resonating or resounding as the energy of pink, which is compassion above the mountain peak, weathering the challenges and bringing new and positive futures here. In the mountain coming up again with that energy of mount and tain, meaning the person who remembers. The tain also has a lot of other definitions, but the mount is mostly about a person. And then mountain horns were coming up here. That the mount ain't horns. So the person in your world to remember, and the tain can represent the tin foil, which is the old way we used to use mirrors, right? The mushrooming also coming up, the silvering, right? The mushroom references the explosion of the world. It represents the mushroom, right? Somewhere where you might be kissing and cuddling. The 10 of the point in time of the twig and the branch, and the tan, which for me represents the tan man, right? We're all shades of tan. The mountain of the person, to remember a point in time, a branch, or the tan man, a time when you used foil or plate for mirror in the mushroom. And just getting, and also remember how we used, I don't know, I'm dating myself now, when we were very young and we didn't have all of the different suntan lotions and things like that. We used to use tin foil, right, to reflect the sun in our face to get a better tan. So that was also coming up. And again, getting burned and skin issues. And the lovers, to reflect the lover's leap above the crowd. The 9 of the eagle, the 20 of marriage, the clearing of all the mountains, a range of reflections, a chain of events around the world, to clear skies as the eagle soars, increasing their elevation, but very slowly, pulling in marriages around the world, as Atlas with map of intent, an opportunity to travel or come together and connect. So then I pulled a few more fortune cards with the star and the underlying energy and a supernova event. The present, a gift, and the 4s were all coming up. 4-4, 144. I literally wrote the first card, so I wrote number 1, and the first card was number 4, and the second card was 22, which is 4. In numerology, it would be written 22/4. So the 144 kept coming up because it came up in the first set that I did as well. After the chains have been broken, in the 32 journey of transformation, the 2 of the angel, 18 of the lovers, the 29 of the star, coming in for a landing. And I was getting my Insta post, but also coming in for a landing in gymnastics, that stick it energy, right? When you have to stick your landing to get a good score was coming up. Breaking the emotional chains with guiding angel and higher self, the one who gels with you, the lover's romance, the 18 and the 29 of the star, the 29/11 is he, the angel and the star-crossed lovers, where hard times are now over. The birth of the 4 and the 22, which there's a Route 422 that's in the Philadelphia area, from Cleveland, Ohio, east to Edinburgh, PA, in the west segment, and the east segment is Hershey to King of Prussia. That starts at 322 and 39 and then ends at 202. And it's called the Benjamin Franklin Highway. The 22 snake, the 21 moon, all cards had stars or sparkles in them in the cards that I had just pulled. And a gift from the stars was coming up again. So I pulled out Elena Danon's book, A Gift from the Stars, to open up to a page. And I opened up to page 238 to 239, which is the Queen and Knight of Cups. And what came up on that page was the Eggaroth. And she always talks about the Eggaroth being her original family. And it's the Anilam Zagara Eggaroth colony from Mesa, which is Meissa, which is, we just talked about mitosis and meiosis. And it's the MEI, same here as the colony from the star system Eggaroth. And they're part of the famous Council of Five, according to Elena Danon in her book. Tall, pale, large skull, brown, gray, no hair, and tiny nose. And the has an air of serene wisdom. And I had actually seen a picture of her friend from Eggaroth in my trees. I actually posted that as a picture. It looked just like them. Highly intelligent, and they have no interest in conquest. Before the Orion Empire flourished, they were highly advanced civilization spread out on many worlds of this was very significant too, the Uru-Anna, A-N-N-A. And Anna had come up the day before as me seeing 1 and then the reflection of 1. The A-N is 1 and then N-A. And you are you, right? You are you, Anna, 1 and not 1. The Anna came up yesterday. And also the Eggaroth can materialize until the 9th density. They're hermaphrodites with the ability to polarize when they're deciding to mate. So then the other Eggaroths that came up was the Darren or Meissa Darrow or Darren Eggaroth. The Darrow Eggaroth is their density shifting. They have density shifting abilities. The reptiloids cannot reach them because they become invisible at that point. They can shapeshift, but they rarely use that because they're not deceptive people. They travel to disharmonious spots to work on balancing energies, involved in helping the density shift of Terra with the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and travel in the etheric interdimensional vessels of diamond, lozenger shape, and the Merkaba. So EGA is feminine ego. So Eggaroth. And Roth is red, but also I always think of the Rothschild when Roth comes up, of course. But Roth is red, wheel, chariot, and disc and sphere, and the halo. Sheepskin and fish skin were also coming up. The Eggaroth, or the egg, are human to the nth degree. And I was getting Lego my ego as the Egar and the ego. And Edgar Allan Poe was coming up here too. The wall, which was the Sumerian definition of Egar, E-G-A-R, the shoulder and the backbone, the feminine ego and the halo of the sphere, the feminine child of Roths. And tritium was also coming up. The wall, and again, the wall was being equated with the shoulder and the backbone and the wings, which came up previously, and the oath that we've made. The human embodiment, which is the human is the O, the human embodiment of source, and the M is co-creation. The M body, right? The human, the Om, O-M, is the human co-creation, but embodying that in the human body to the nth degree. The energy of thee and thy being poetic, and again, Edgar Allan Poe coming up here. The hyperbolic, the tangent, right? The gentleman, the table header. The hyperbow, the inner child. And TH, one of the definitions, is tritium hydrogen and time hopping. So tri-source. High Doctor of Human Genetics was coming up as hydrogen. High Doctor of Human Genetics. And then the tritium comes up as 360 degrees of co-creation. Tri. And then TIU is 60. And then M is co-creation. So tritium hydrogen comes up as the 360 degrees of co-creation and the High Doctor of Human Genetics. And David kept coming up as well. And I have a lot of Davids in my family, my uncle David and my great-grandfather David. And TIU is also 9 and 10. And again, I always bring up 9, 10 together when it's begin again. But TIU also means score. That one person, uncle coming up. And they're bringing up, so my uncle David was a genius and he had some quirks, right? So whenever you whistled, it made him nuts, right? So he had told my little brother when we were young, my brother was very young at the time, at Thanksgiving, David told him to stop whistling because it makes him nuts. I think I told this story before, but of course my brother kept whistling because he forgot, and he was a little kid. He kept whistling, and David kicked him in the nuts. Of course, my dad was furious with my uncle, who's my mother's brother, not his. But again, the tri of the 3 and the score, that one person, 9 and 10, which is also Virgo and Libra season, right? 9 is the Hermit, 10 is the Wheel of Fortune for me is Libra. And also the 9th and 10th month of Virgo and Libra. The UN key, and again, David came up because my great-grandfather, David Lubin, was actually mentioned in the I'm just blanking out on the name of the word. The award from the UN, it'll come to me in a second. But anyway, the award from 1907, my great-grandfather was mentioned in because the King of Italy basically took credit for what my great-grandfather had done. But of course, he was never going to get credit for that back then. He was a Jew. So there's the 3 score comes up as 60 years, and the 3-ring circus. And the energy of the supernova event of 3 score equaling 60. Also the S core. Score is Sophia's core. And the sine wave coming up here, the electric and magnetic birth, being guided to a better path, so just be careful. Coming full circle, coming round the mountain when she comes, and come is co-me, and God said, me is me. Sophie, and then Yaya came up, so my other grandmother came up. So David Lubin's daughter is my grandmother Yaya, and her middle name is Sophie. So I was getting her, like, she hasn't come up much regarding the grandchildren coming into my family because we have like 11 kids in our family now. And so many of my relatives have been telling me they're coming into this child or this child or this child, and Yaya hasn't really come into play until now. So she's coming in. So two stars guiding the moon, which comes up as the daughter energy. The magnetic mountain and the person to remember, the mushroom and destruction. Again, the destruction, remembering the beginning of the world, which is the destruction of everything. The energy of the 35 wish card of the heart squared. So it's a picture of the heart lit up, but when the heart is squared, it looks like an open book. And again, the heart being the access to the Akashic records and your blocks. The 24, the Queen of Wands with patience for enlightenment. The 11 of flowers, or those who flow. The patient flow, and again, hospitalization. And it takes time to heal and blossom, a line to leave the wounded warrior or that victim mentality behind. So number 4 came up with birth, and birth is be earth. The energy of embodiment was also coming up with the embryo. So the embody is ODI, and then embryo as RYO. Alongside of or understanding, and the OD was the wall, and again the Egoroth energy coming back up again. EMB as an embolization as well, means with, against, understanding, alongside of. The co-creative being begins understanding. The embodiment of the blocks for further understanding was coming up. So again, talking about tapping into your blocks again and doing some heavy clearing right now. The OTH of the oath and the ODI of the loathing, right? So the same word with the L. And connecting that. The TH of the tritium hydrogen, that explosive energy, which is symbolized by the letter T, the top dog, right? The God energy that is explosive. And again, tritium hydrogen is used in nuclear weapons. The tritium of the 360 degrees of co-creation by the high doctor of human genetics, or, right, that can be represented as the full circle of source energy, that singularity in the middle of the circle of 360 degrees. The OM, hide. The rho, the rowing energy of Jesus coming up here. The UM of the Holy Grail, which is representing the portal, and then the CCCC of the repeated pictures in like making a movie, flipping the pages of a book so that you can see each individual shot at a time. But it is that energy of the portal and the tunneling of that portal in suspended animation so you can see how it works, but it's really all at one time. So the U and the M of the Holy Grail of co-creation and achieving that 0 point of suspended time. Source me. The sudden serious call of the sun, a shout out to source me, connect with God. I miss you, rebirthing, a sudden cry or longing as all the flowers blossom at once. And the 10 of burning crosses to bury the past. Of 723 and 5, which is love, the Queen of Wands and celebrations here. Or excuse me, not the Queen of Wands, but the owl. But there might be a reason why the Queen of Wands came up there. But the card is actually the King of Wands. But the feminine aspect of the wise owl there. Love, the owl and celebrations, the star, the King of Wands, Hierophant, and birthdays coming up, Libra, Aries, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus, which are 3 sets of axes, right? So Leo and Aquarius, Taurus and Scorpio, and Libra and Aries were all coming up as the signs coming up. And again, we're in Libra and Scorpio right now, and all the birthday parties coming up right now during this season. So then from the rider WAITE, the underlying energy of turn of events, and that was at 9:10, begin again. The High Priestess was reversed with Libra reversed, Pisces and Virgo reversed, and the Knight of Pentacles reversed. Stuck breaking patterns and keeping to self, or need to use meditation. So you are keeping your energy clear. The workplace sharing uncomfortable, perhaps uncomfortable not being able to walk away, and sudden events or epiphanies, perhaps blowing your mind, your crown, your top, looking back on down. Looking back or down to detox or get out of a bind, to dump the stuff in need of peace, powerless, dependence, and in need of help. Or a student who's unclear, as the Emperor's being very clear, giving the whole truth, with the Knight of Cups and the Page of Cups both reversed, releasing their anxieties, and the Nine of Cups upright, that satisfaction with self, in ending conflict. The Empress upright, with the Four of Cups upright, grounding, integrating love, and the Queen of Cups reversed, who may be bored of the Empress upright and her offers, or busy working now that the worst is over. As the King of Swords is with the world upside down, maybe his world feels upside down, or maybe he's discovering his 5D world, without a choice and frustrated with the Justice card upright, or a judge aligned with the Empress, or Libra and Taurus both upright under the radar, as the Hanging Man is hanging out, letting go and over it, perhaps ending an emotional cycle with an unhappy family or a breakup or a disconnect or feeling overwhelmed, losing patience, coming together with the Fool for the Queen of Wands and being tired of it. So this next message of the day on the 9th was 10:55 to 11:02. The Mystic deck, the Lenormand KIPPER deck, it's a combined of 2 decks. The Wild Unknown guidebook, and then 2 separate piles of the tea leaves, 1 and 2. And the piles at the end came out to be 13111 and 183411. Transition to the twin flame romance, an energetic exchange, which is the hours of love as well, with justice and alignment. The dance to soar to urgent information. As the magician and the empress, twin flame, dance and soar, 41 and 1, escorts at the twin flame dance of love, guided by pillars in the end. The underlying energy at 1118, which is again that alignment and justice of the moon, or the subconscious, or the romance, of the 18 of Poseidon. So it was 1118, and then the first card was 18 again. The 3 of the marriage, firefly, casket, and bowl. The positive side on, remember Poseidon's coming up as the positive side of the sine wave. The Poe star cluster, so there Edgar Allan Poe is coming up again. The Poe of the peacock, of water and Monday. The 5 to jump, tree, dust, skin, children's hand, toilet, or children's toilet. By means of, night, half, around Lord Moon, road, whole, all behind, spleen, to mix, need, to be too small. Right, so then we bring up the peacock and Poe. So again, we have that Napoleon complex thing too, right? One who's too small becomes the peacock because they're trying to compensate for their height. The sea, SEI, again coming up as the sea whale. And the whale Don. And here's coming up the peacock at Oxford or Cambridge, the professor of, or the mafia boss, right? The one who has to make themselves bigger than they are, right? Bigger than life. You or it love, or appear frozen, frost, black ice. The day to enter deep, the leaf. With a gift or knack, donation. Mr. or misfortune. The father to perform, create, raise, place, and take away, to do and have, grease, lord, stupidity, a tool, and Donmark, or Donmak, D-O-N-M-A-K, which means to freeze to death. So dust to be, with a knack for misfortune. Monday at 6, you love, whole whale froze to death. Poseidon, abundant marriage with fleeting inspiration, a momentary lapse and the end of a situation, but plenty of material things left, or food at a funeral or service. So again, as soon as I said dust to be, I was getting that, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And a beautiful mind was coming up that day as well. 1149, which is justice. And again, my Uncle David's coming up as that beautiful mind, and probably my great-grandfather, he's probably a genius too. But that beautiful mind, right, which gets distorted by 3D things, right? They're misunderstood in this world. The energy of the moon, the empress, the spark of romance, and then zilch, left with a fruit basket and nothing else. At 1155, which is justice and the ace of swords, Excalibur, where Hebe, Odysseus, Athena, Pan, Hephaestus, Persephone, Helios, and Poseidon all came up. Perhaps a play group, and the Page of Cups on a journey with the Knight of Wands, who's wise, 2 of a kind on the journey of wisdom, 1 with a horse and 1 with an owl. The Nature Boy, Pisces perhaps, whole. Where's the Fool at work with shortcomings, awaken, with Persephone with gifts, and the Hanging Man's light, Aries, Pisces, Cancer, and the Earth Shaker. With Iris being the first card out, the journey of harmony, with Themis, Hermes, and Bellerophon. And the numbers 10, 26, and 45. The shadow journey destined. The miss. Hermes. The natural order. And the Page of Wands messages of humility. The Page of Wands messages from humble one grieving his losses. The star falling. Demeter is of meter, right? It's measurement. The 15 of her harvest. Of the meter, the beats in a measure, a phrase, a vase, a poem, a godmother, to meddle, insert, or exchange, to send, place, screw, or to score. And remember that 3 score came up as, and score is 20 years, and also Sophia's core. Of 20 years, or a measure, pose, creation, Edgar, ED, and Gar, which is blaze. Also to cause, eager, leg, even, and cooled. Easy, convenient, turn, favor, and along. Spear, arrow, and dart, poetic. And garneck, which equals pot, P-O-T. So the poetic P-O at the intersection, the crossroads at 1221, the underlying energy of the magic journey of self-discovery. The 38 Queen of Cups with twin bridges and 1 main male, patient with message of concern, and the 30 of the King of Swords in a mature spiritual union, the 3 of the abundant marriage and a beautiful mind, the 1-to-1 of the Queen of Cups between, the 1-to-3 and dancing back to 1 again, perhaps an invite to a union or marriage, the Queen of Cups 17 nesting the dream, and the 14 of the fox leaving the nest for a higher love to judication of home and union, the 13 of the Page of Swords, perhaps a Scorpio, or child of transition to the stars, an innocence, or that perfect innocent love, that supernova 19 birthing event, the bright star at the university, the 6 of Swords, finding peace, right? That genius, beautiful mind at university trying to find peace in a place they don't belong. The 36 of the 6 of Wands, the Atlas with a reputation to uphold, the 20 of public prison and trapped in the mind, the cross to bear in a wake-up call, of the 7 and 23, the Chariot King of Wands, and a message of the 7 of Wands, that they must clean up their own messes. The 9 of the Queen of Swords Hermit with flowers and gifts, and the underlying energy of the starfish, a black egg, the unicorn, cosmic egg, and firefly, speaking the truth of a beautiful mind, the 3rd eye and the crown wide open, the dragon song bird to the tiger, the baby's breath, with a mouse, a following, and a peacock admirer, the star, a good egg, with the throat, 3rd eye, and crown wide open, and the source knight, a tiger, Dr. Moose perhaps, a mopey star, a cost, a path of the black sheep of the family, the unicorn, the renal clarence of the inner child, or Christ consciousness, the fire that flies. And again, and David was coming up again. The zebra, buffalo, and butterfly. The zeb of zebra is the stone, the rock, or the grass, and the ray, the zeb ray, the rock ray, the stone ray, the path of one ray, the buff fallow, but bull flies. Right? The buffalo follows, but the bull flies. Devastated, disabled, ruined, to have and to hold and possess, the tar of the throne, and 3 times a lady I'm getting, to give birth and sweat, and poetic sweat. An aunt or uncle again coming up here. The zebra and buffalo with firefly and butterfly around them. The beaver, lion, and camel perhaps. The hard worker who gives a damn, and the king of the jungle who meets the blue camel. Perhaps who came and went. As the camel is the K and the Mel here, and again here comes golden ray Mel as well. The Canadian Mel came Mel to beaver and lion. The lion or beast with weight stuff, like the dumbwaiter came up. The stuff to wait with. The lion or beast with weight staff, or the dumbwaiter here. The underlying energy of the dark man with the barrel and the broom, right? The one who cleans up. Something lacking here, needs to be cleaned. The seahorse with family matters. Sorrow over loss, a casket, a funeral, or ending. And the cane, perhaps paying attention to their health. Dark woman and a dog for protection. The fan is indecisive about getting together with friends. And the elephant's journey. So the underlying energy next was the key of the coins in coming to you with plenty of material things. The beetle with good fortune. And the horse a short journey. And purse to pay attention to your finances, perhaps a payoff at the races, or a trip that pays off. Where the forest is muddled thinking, perhaps the fan unclear. The ant, arrogant, rooster, boastful, or a person not to cross. The flute disappointing and spear a heartache over what you no longer have. And the four-leaf clover, January coming up, and a candle lit to show the way. And that's interesting too, because I got some scented oils, and I tried the first one today, so it's interesting. The four-leaf clover, January, the candle lit to show the way. Perhaps you need to experiment with your smells, because when I did one session last year, they didn't realize it wasn't even the smells that they were bringing. I was doing a clearing session with ringing bowls, and it's a couple who does that kind of work. But it was the smell that made me cry. Oh my gosh, so much came up from the smell, and they didn't realize they were doing it. It was whatever they had on them was triggering me. But again, scents coming up to bring up memories, right? Because you remember a lot of things by your sense of smell. Something, the grasshopper, and I'm getting, of course, Karate Kid with the grasshopper, the student, and the sensitive, with sensitive intent, a temporary situation, a ring, a marriage that will take place. So on the 10th was the 10-10 portal. I did Jen McCarty's meditation, which was a really beautiful meditation. And what came up in her meditation was the same thing that came up in my Instagram post that morning. All about Vesica Pisces and Excalibur came up in both. But It Is Written came up, and then Philadelphia was coming up. And all the breakdowns, so you can look at my Instagram post about that. It was really cool, actually. The Philadelphia is the phi and phi and the ladle between. The ladle is the cup, that which holds in the space between. And then the A at the end is the human body, embodiment of source with connections. And the phi ladled the phia, or the mother. And Philadelphia comes up as the mother, because the phi and the phi with the ladle comes up as co-creation. And then the A, and co-creation is M, so it comes up as mother of the city of brotherly and sisterly love. Mountain, valley, mountain was coming up as well, because the M is that co-creation, right? That Mary Magdalene energy of the mountains and the valleys. And then victim and victor came up, and the differences between them. And that was really interesting. Because the victor is the one that becomes the king of the hill and then loses their marbles, because then they take the fall. Whereas the victim is the victim, because remember, Vic means victim. So Vic is in both victor and victim. So both contain the victim, but the victim begets victim, but the victor has both the victim and the victor in them, which then brings up the polarities, because the victim isn't the polarity. The victim is the one in the middle. The savior and the perpetrator are the polarities. Okay, so the energy of the victim comes up as the creative inner child, and time out with the top dog I am. And the victor as the victim or the joke who becomes the king of the hill and then loses all their marbles. Or the radioactive hydrogen I am. The gate is where God ate, at the mouth between two hue from man, embodied by source, the source being the sour sea, which is the salty sea, and Sophia And Sophia owing you our C, and C. The sea and the ocean are Sophia and sine wave, the egg cracked open as human embodiment with connections, and the human or who from man who sees one. The sea and the ocean both have EA in them, the Eve and the Adam, and the Eve that you add the I am, the after death, am, is Adam. And the Eve is the moment before death, right? The victim hosts, they warm things up, and the victor feasts. So running on empty, warm and with a warm tummy is the victim, the rear end crash, the dive, the immense, or immersing that inherits the earth with nothing to lose. They have an inch, but the victor will take a mile. The victim is 1 to 00, or 1 to 100, and leaps to the middle as the victor must fall from the top. They take the bull by the horns and then turns to rethink things and then come back. The victor is the door, the gate. The victim is the tunnel, the host, the estate, to have and to hold. The question is to be victim, or victim and victor. Two twigs, jokes, or switches. I ams, or one I am and one or. The irony of iron ore, to be I am or something else. The creation of the inner child, to R, or source M, to co-create. To create the chakra system, the whispering bench of quantum entanglement with another chakra system in the co-creation between two. The victim is two separate systems working together with time and no kids, where the victor is one chakra system on tour to begin, march, effort, feast, and return to catch when they fall with a net. And a net may be coming up there for somebody. So from the Fortunes Oracle, again, just a quick message here is the lucky star present to the sun, two unicorns in love. The 26 of the Page of Wands taking off to the islands with Newton's cradle, or to Phoenix with Phoenix rising and crossing paths, to transform and break chains at the shore to resonate with the mountains, the mountain chain. The 22 of the 5D Lover's Leap, and the 27 and 23 of the Ace of Wands and the King of Wands, and a wise proposal with the 5 and 11 of celebrations, flowers, or flowers, those who flow, the light in the box opening up, getting flowers, or flowers, or followers, the 4D stars, the Page of Wands and the Knight of Wands, the journey to 5D, the 4D to 5D, Aries, Taurus, and Libra also coming up right there. So then we have the number 3 message of the day, which was done on the 10th between 5:05 and 5:17. The cards at the end were 1121 and 1252. And Justice Around the World of the Hanging Man and the Queen of Swords. And the number 112 came up, which the first entry is Libra, which we're in Libra. And then the book, Sick, Flare. And both Libra, Sick, and Flare had all the same numbers in Gematria. So it was 112, 252, and 42, which was crazy because the numbers I just told you at the end of the deck was 1121 and 1252. So literally when you put them all together, 112 and 252 came up, and they both mean Libra and Sick and Flare. And they have, it's literally 112 Libra, 11 in the middle, which is Justice or Libra, and then 252, which is Libra. So it was Libra, Libra, Libra. Justice Entanglement and the 2112, which is the King Ladybug, decode. King David has returned, came up there. Okay, so K, Ladybug, decode, King David has returned. And the numbers that came up with the 2112 were 1998 and 333 for that. The second entry was CA, Elizabeth Cheney, B, Going to Hell, K, God, JC. The third entry was It is not good to eat much honey, JC. And all three of those were 1998 and 333. And then we had The Power of God, KJ, A squared and B squared equals C squared was the 5th entry, and then 174 was the 6th, and then the 7th was all by design and part of the plan by L. Saturn. Justice of the world reflects the hanging man and the Queen of Swords, or the divine masculine and feminine, Hierophant and High Priestess. The divine masculine and divine feminine pillars hang and align with the magic potion. And potion number 9 came up in one of my videos from Instagram a couple weeks back. But we have that potion is 25 when you put them together in block style. It makes a potion bottle. And the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Swords here with truth, balance, and wholeness. The Christ and Lady Liberty with Libra, Pisces, and Saggy, Gemini, Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn here. The underlying energy of the 4, 16, 19, and 31 of the Emperor, the Tower, the Sun, and the 5 of Wands, where the Emperor speaks to the people, perhaps pointing fingers or arrows from the central sun to the Christed ones who are weary. The energy of perseverance and green with the number 4, where the first card out was 33 in communication, which is gold, and the 99 of compassion, which is purple, and the 63 of parenting. So it's all purple and gold here. And the 67 of the Knight of Pentacles and physical activity of indigo purple in the lambda leap of 4, the lambda father, 33 is the Christ vibration, and 66 is the Queen of Pentacles, and the golden gates of the spirals. The 33 and the 66 equals the 99 reversed here, or the energetic exchange of the 66 Queen of Pentacles, or arrows of love, parenting, or father perhaps renting. For Agent 99, the bridge to 66, the suffering and silence, or sister parenting, again, sister-wise was just coming up for whatever reason, but the suffering and silence or sister parenting requires the Knight of Pentacles physical activity, persevering in the emerald green for health, for stability, and the royal gold and purple for humble housing. At 610, which again is my mother's birthday and my great-grandfather David's birthday, the underlying energy of the 23 of the King of Wands, and the wise owl with great wisdom looking back, at the 8 of the dragonfly in that beautiful mind, of the E and the A, or Ea's beautiful mind, or again, comes up as Eve and Adam, but also emotional attachments. The King of Wands dance with the Knight of Wands, Phoenix, rising, 2 as 1, as the lion suddenly roars, with Leo Saggy gate open. So again, this 1010 was coming up as a portal between Lion's Gate and Saggy Gate, or Centaur Gate, that now this gate is open. And remember, that's the tiger lioness, the tie-on connection, the piggybacking or the toteming of the masculine and the feminine, and tying these two gates together. The tiger lioness, as the King of Wands, learns to tame his inner beast to a slow burn, as all at once the lion cries out, the dragon line rises, 2 hearts align in one heartbeat, pulsing through a beautiful mind. All fire with water, as the King of Wands and Knight of Wands cry out loud in a second coming. The twins are coming, the twins are coming, as the strength of wisdom and tower of the 2382516 were the cards here, a serious call to that God Saggy energy and Jesus Sun, God's number 1. With Scorpio and fire, there's nothing light here. Hear ye, time is running out, as the 24 Queen of Wands is learning to slow down and slow their mind, how to communicate across the bridge, as the Leo Scorpio Sun calls to mother to escort mother and daughter down the aisle, with Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, and Pisces, and the escorting of Cancer down the aisle in exchange of hands. So that could reference a hand fasting as well. At 6:30, which is the lovers and the union, and 34, which is actually my numerological year this year, again referencing 2023 to 2024. Patience and romance of unity, 2 hands and 1 heart, the 14 of judgment and the 18 of lovers, swearing in to a higher love, in a wake-up call to lover's romance. With Saggy and Cancer, the 14th and the 18th were coming up, and I'm like, okay, so why are they coming up? Like 14th was my original anniversary when I married my kid's dad, and the 18th was my birthday. But what does that mean in the message I'm bringing to you? So then I was getting my Uncle David again, and they were guiding me to open a book because my Uncle David is trying to get me to open a book. And this was at 6:32, which is The Lovers and the Journey. And so I'm thinking, David, what book should I open? He was very technical, right? Because he was a mathematical genius. And so what book? So the first I looked at was a mini black book, which was a Bible that I got in the mail. So of course I opened that, and I opened it up to page 188, which is that leap to the twin dance, the 8-8. And the chapter was St. John 15 at the top of the page, but it was actually the end of 14:18, which is the numbers that just came up. So it was literally the 14th chapter, part 18, which was the disciples comforted, which is you. I will not leave you comfortless. I will come to you. And then going into the 19th phrase was, yet a little while, and the world seeth me no more. But ye see me, because I live, ye shall live also. And then Judas says, how will you connect with us when not the world? And then Jesus says, if a man loves me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him. Come and make our abode with him. And then I skip down to phrase number 26, which is Newton's cradle. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, and there's that Sophia energy, Father sends in my name, will teach you and bring into your remembrance. So again, that energy of Mother Nature, right? The female aspect of God and Mother Nature, which is all but that source and that source point. Everything else is Mother Nature, or the feminine aspect of God. This is what God has sent you to bring you into your remembrance. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, Father sends in my name, will teach you and bring into your remembrance. And right at that moment, I had one of Bonnie's clearing videos, and it kept opening at random times, like the volume was off. But then I would get to certain points. I love you, hon. It would get to certain points, and all of a sudden her video wasn't up, but it would start talking. And she came in right there. The 27th phrase was, peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you, not as world. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. And again, I started paraphrasing, so it's not word for word from the Bible, but this is the message that was coming up. So in chapter 15 that was on that page was, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husband - man. And 15 through 26 was, if they hate me, they hate you, but hated me without a cause. But when the Comforter is come, when I will send unto you from Father, even the Spirit of truth, which proceedeth from the Father, he shall testify of me, and ye shall also bear witness, because ye have been with me from the beginning. So there's that energy of the Emerald Order coming in. And that was ended on page 190, which is the Sun, supported by Source. So 705 was the underlying energy of 35, and the moire of destiny, the ones who decide how long you're going to live, when you're going to be birthed and die. The energy of Uranus of the Father, 28 of Eros and desire, 19 of Artemis and purity, and the fates all on you, which then brought up that show You, which cracked me up. The 28 of the twin flames, guided by the Father and purified by the Son. After the 18 of Poseidon, the earth shaker, 37, 33, and 38, which is literally the King and Queen of Cups with that Christ unity consciousness between them. The bridge to each other is that Christed connection. The death, healing, and glory of the Christed King and Queen of Cups. And then the Egoroth were coming up again, the Uru Anna Egoroth. To the nth degree, Anna, which is the one and the not one, the toes and the not toes. The Anatos was coming up here as well, Anatos. NATO is coming up, and Chiron, and AC, a chill for S, or ES, Achilles' heel. Turns with Christ between the archer's son, out of the horse, the human sprout. So again, the centaur, right? Out of Mr. Ed, the horse, sprouts his human son. So the centaur is coming up as God and Christ. All the wise mothers actually decide the birth, the death, and the length of life, while Father guides and Son purifies. All right, so the Father singularity guides as the Son purifies, and Mother Nature does everything else. The twin flame desires of sires, handpicked for those rose qualities. Artemis is coming up as the Artemis, and Pan Christ, the nature his, both divine feminine and divine masculine, or worldly nature boy, a bull of sorts, or is that a goat without the horse's mouth, only his tail of Pan? And again, of course, pandemic is coming up, and the 34 of Pandora's box came up right after that. So Pan and his Pandora's box, 34, which is this year, from 23 to 24, of the hope and energetic exchange between the 3 and 4 of the Empress and the Emperor, which is abundance and stability. The Father-Christ-Do-Re, right? We don't get to me because that's Father again. The Father-Christ connection of Do and Re, right? The Do's Re, the dear one. The hope of me, of Do-Re-Mi, of God to Mary E. Mary is one, equal, and congruent to me. So marry me. And then 720 came up, which is the Chariot and the wake-up call of Apollo. And it got all smeared right there. It looks kind of like ashy. Apollo with clarity on Artemis's arrow, as the bow may be hers, but the arrow was his, Apollo's. The 20 of his wake-up call of the High Priestess, Higher Self, or Divine Feminine, with source support as she purifies, he clarifies, and bona fide, Apollo, looking for Mark O, a polarized mark at Hecate's crossroads, the generational females, the maiden mother crone, with Atlas's intent and a blood pact. But then Gaia chimes in. That wasn't my original blueprint. Don't go on distorting it, says the Divine Feminine Higher Self with plant in hand. So again, here's this, the maiden mother crone energy, and there's this coven energy, right? Who have distorted Gaia's original intent, right? This energy of mother crone with Atlas's intent, a blood pact here. But then Gaia comes chiming in to these lower generational mothers saying that wasn't my original blueprint. You guys distorted it. So don't go on distorting it, says the Divine Feminine Higher Self with plant in hand. The 13 of Eos and new beginnings, the transition of one equal and congruent to human Sophia, which is wisdom. The Leo, Pisces, Aquarius, Virgo, Scorpio, and Gemini here, as Rhea steps in to protect her children, she and Gaia with an understanding of the fathers and the sons. The 2 and the 6 of 38:11 and 42:6, that the dawn is here of the mother and daughter, the 1 and the 2, the 6 and the 6. And bringing in the masculine was bringing in the 7 and the 6. Again, that boomerang energy of the spiral. The Iris of 32 is the go-between here. And Iris is Hera is Zeus's wife, and Iris is Hera's personal messenger. Like Hermes, she is the rainbow harmony between heaven and earth, or heaven and earth. Gaia and Rhea and Iris are here as 3 generations of light, as opposed to the maiden mother and crone. The dawning and rainbow bridge of twins escorted by Artemis and Apollo. She's Marco and he's Polo. She marks them and he poles them. The 25 of the seat of the heart then comes up at 736, which again is the 7 of the chariot and the boomerang and the key, and the 36 of Atlas and the weight of the world. The 3 of the burning hero and the 31 of the Christ flame. The Knight of Wands and the Empress, who pulled him back into the hot flames of the burning crowd, found their center and got steamrolled and burned out, having been Christed, Chris, Ted, Christ, and Mr. Ed. The next card was the number 10 of 3 to 1, the 49 of Woman of Light, and the 53 of Legacy of Light. Destined to go underground, the tunneling effect, as the Woman of Light basks in the sun, getting their wish in the light from Pandora's box that Pan had. I'm getting the panhandle. The Knight of Swords, Legacy of Light, ready and waiting with sleeping bag and arm to hold, he camping out with Christ tonight. As the 6 of Angel of Jupiter awakens, the lovers align in green and golds, the 13 of the gifts received in transition and orbs, 2 reflecting in Mother Nature, or for a lake swim, or floating on air. Libra, Gemini, Scorpio here, and the shack for recovery at 755. Which is the chariot and Excalibur, the key and Excalibur. So let's see, I'm going to pull from, where am I going to pull from? I'm going to pull from my Lenormand and Kipper combined decks and see what comes up here. Take a deep breath. As it's 3:42 on the clock, which is the Empress and the 2 of Cups. The abundance of the 1-to-1. Or the Empress, the Emperor, 2. Okay, so what comes out for you guys? All right, and that just flipped over right in the middle of the deck. And the card that came up was the 40, which is the Page of Cups and the Funhouse card. But for me, it's very much the 3 faces of vulnerability here, because the 40 of the Page of Cups. And we also have the Man in Despair, which is the 32 card. On the journey in the background, it says not hiring, and he's there with a pup in despair. But despair is also the pair. And then we have Great Fortune, which is number 26, that Newton's cradle energy, and the Page of Wands. So we have the Page of Cups and the Page of Wands on the journey together, where the one in despair is that Christ energy here, right? Because God wants you to connect with them, because as soon as you're both connected to source energy through this bridge, then you're connected to each other automatically. And then we have the ring, the 25 of the Knight of Wands, who has learned how to control their passions. And it comes up very much that way in the SIRIAN Starseed deck. And then we have the 17 of the Queen of Cups, which is nesting the dream. The 2 storks in the nest, and their dreams come true. So it can happen to you if you're young at heart. There we go. The bottom of the deck is the 14, the message of concern. So from this message of concern, the 14 of the temperance, of patience and balance, and that higher love, taking one step at a time and not overreacting, as the Page of Cups and Page of Wands need to connect with that source energy, right, to vitalize, because this also represents both of them being very drained from the journey. But all you have to do is connect back to source again. It's funny that it says not hiring in this card, right? He's not hiring, he's not leveling up on the journey, because he had to connect with Christ. And here we have the Divine Masculine connecting with that source energy in order to make the connection. And then the ring and nesting the dream. What a beautiful ending, right? That happily ever after. You're always seeking. So there you go. Rise and be loved. I'll see you guys soon. Have an amazing one.